Hey everybody, this is Robert from Black Belt Gaming. Sick again. My son brought home a cold and it's now infected the whole house. So we had a couple of days off here and I was excited to bring you some new game stuff, but I think I'll be doing this vlog entry today. And hopefully won't break out to any fits of coughing, sneezing, or anything else horrific. So, wanted to talk with you about Dungeons and Dragons. I've got some fans and a dehumidifier and some other things going on behind me, so I hope it's not too distracting. But let me jump to it. Dungeons and Dragons. Thought I would talk about my first experience. It was the summer of 1982. And my family, we just moved to a new neighborhood, and I invited some friends over to play a board game. The game was called Dark Tower. I actually came across an old commercial of that. Let me show it to you.
Last night I journeyed backwards in time to the medieval world of Dark Tower. In this amazing game, I had to find 3 keys, lay siege to the tower, and defeat the enemy within. Each move was a challenge. The computer kept track, giving me secret information, pictures, sounds, surprises. Then, ahead of my opponent, I made my move. The battle was joined, and I was victorious. Dark Tower.
Well, that was it. We all had a good time playing that game, and they said, hey, we got a neat game. Why don't we play this one? It's called Dungeons and Dragons. And I said, okay, what's it like? And they said, well, it's like Dark Tower, except there's no board or pieces, and there's no tower in the middle. And I said, what? And they said, yeah, you just kind of play it in your head. You imagine what's happening, and then every now and then you roll these strange dice to see what happens. And I said, okay. But I had no idea what these guys were talking about. Well, we all sat down. I can't remember exactly how many of us there were. But one of the guys had an extra character, and he gave it to me. And it was an elf fighter magic user. The rule set we were using was first edition, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So no longer like in the basic rules where you played a race. You could actually combine a race and a class here. So I was first level, had some decent attribute scores, and I sort of followed along. I was the lowest level member of the party. Alright, my little coughing fit just finished. Moving on, we had a thief. I don't remember what race or if he was a multi-class or what, but we had a thief character. And he was in the front, and we were heading up to this these big double doors, and they had a big lock on it. And he started to try to pick the lock. And I remember it was trapped. He set off a trap, and a poison needle pricked his finger. And I think a saving throw was rolled, and don't remember if he passed or failed or how lethal the poison was, but it definitely weakened him. So anyway, we got the lock off the door and we entered inside. I don't remember why we were going there, but like I said, I was following the group and just trying to figure out what was going on. Well, there we were, trying to find our way through these twisting tunnels and hallways. And I just remember how cautious everybody was. We were walking slowly. We were trying to be careful of our light source, whether it was a lantern or a torch. When we would come to a door, somebody, usually the thief, would always listen first and check for traps. In any suspicious parts of the hallway or any intersections or anything, they'd check for traps or secret doors. I just remember a lot of caution. And eventually, we ran into some trouble. Well, the trouble we ran into, and I can't remember if it was the first encounter or what, or if, I don't think it was a wandering monster. It was a horde of goblins. And I remember saying that my character was drawing his sword, and thought we were going to have a combat or something. And the guys in my party said, "No, run." and I was thinking, run? And they all just took off. And so I said I was following, and I was right behind them. And I think the thief, who had been weakened somewhat earlier, was at the back of the marching order. So when we turned around and started running, he was in the front. And back then, when we were going through all these tunnels and stuff, we had to kind of draw our own maps on scratch paper, graph paper, whatever, according to the descriptions of the DM. Well, we ended up taking a wrong turn somewhere, and he ran right over a pit trap, and the thief just disappeared right in front of us. And I remember us trying to close door behind us and spike it shut so that they couldn't open it. We heard him pounding on the door. Well, anyway, our thief had vanished, and there were some dead bodies down there with the thief. The thief did not die, but the damage was rolled for the fall, and I remember the DM telling him that his leg was broken. So I remember I climbed down into the pit. It wasn't spiked or anything, but it was deep. I climbed down into the pit, and the others started to come down there as well. And somebody, I don't remember if it was me or someone else, somebody spotted a secret door down there at the bottom of the pit, and we opened it up. And I happened to notice a sword underneath one of the corpses, and I picked it up, and the DM told me it was a magic sword. I could tell it was magic by the way it was glowing. Come to find out, it was a +2 two-handed sword. And I remember the other guy saying, "Oh, you should keep that. That'll really help you." So we were ready to head into the smaller tunnel through the secret door, and the goblins were right on top of us. Well, we were all planning to grab our friend and take off down this small tunnel, and the goblins were there on the edge of the pit and started firing arrows down at us. And the other guys said, "Leave him," and they charged in through the small tunnel. And I was like, "Leave him? He's one of us." And they knew that this DM was a good DM, but he was brutal. And this wasn't some heroic adventure. This was like survival horror. It was like encountering Alien in the first movie. I mean, we were in trouble and we needed to get out of there. And we weren't going to fight anything unless we had a good chance of winning. So, I was the lowest level one. But the DM could sense my hesitation. And for some reason, he asked me, "What's your constitution?" And I told him what it was. And then he made a die roll. Now, this, we were young. I don't, maybe some of us were in high school and some of us weren't in high school yet. But he decided to make it a constitution check. And perhaps having an idea that was related to toughness and, in his mind, willpower. All of this wasn't described out in the rules, or if it was, we didn't necessarily read that part. But he made a check, and he said, although you're torn, you can leave him if you want to go. And so the guy said, come on. So I left him. Well, the goblins jumped down. We heard our friends screaming. But we were taking off into the darkness to try to escape. Well, we thought we were going to get away, but we ended up coming to a dead end. And the goblin horde was coming up right behind us. And there on the top of a pike, on the end of this long spear, was the head of our friend. And I remember thinking, oh my God, we're going to die. So we put our backs up to the wall, and we're drawing our weapons. And one of the characters stepped forward and attempted I guess it was a high level spell. Like I said, I was the lowest level character in the group. And he's cast summon something. I remember he was trying to summon an earth elemental. And what he got was a little bit different. Well, instead of getting some cool big giant rock monster like this, we ended up getting a Zorn, one of these things. It looked like a walking tater tot or something. But I guess it was somehow related to the elemental plane of Earth, and it showed up and it was going to fight for us. So we kind of rubbed our hands together and thought, okay, we'll let this thing tear into the goblins. Well, the goblin chieftain stepped forward, and he and this Zorn went at it one-on-one. And I remember just how our mouths dropped open in horror when the DM told us that the chieftain slew and defeated our Zorn. And we all knew it was over then. We all knew we were going to die. So that was it. We ran out of time, and we had lost a party member, and we were in big, big trouble. But man, what an experience. I had never played anything like that, and it just made such an impression. I remember feeling scared along with the other party members, and I remember thinking, wow, we were just sitting around the table just telling stories, and we had that much fun. There was no ball involved. We weren't at the swimming pool. It was just us and some dice and our imaginations. And it was just amazing. We were so involved in the story. And every now and then, we might be pulled back to reality to make some kind of die roll or something whenever that was necessary. But it only took a second to glance down at our character sheet and see what we needed, and then make the roll and then move on. None of us were actors of any kind. We didn't speak in character and use different accents and gesture. We didn't do all of that. Kept it very simple. We were all very casual players, I guess. And no one was a rules lawyer. The power was totally in the DM's hands, and the rules were guiding us along, but they really didn't restrict us in any way or bring down the fun at all. And there was no arguing back and forth, even when a character lost his life. Just a very strong and positive first impression. And ever since that time, I've enjoyed D&D. I've enjoyed D&D ever since then. And as far as advancements in editions and such, I've been looking for an edition of D&D that really helps me recapture some of that old magic. And that's what I'm going to be talking about in the near future. But I just wanted to talk with you today about my first experience playing Dungeons and Dragons and how fantastic it was. And I will catch you later for some more D&D discussion. Thanks.